for this autumn and winter season. So if you can hear me, just click in the chat that you can see that we're live now. I'm going to bring in the other guests in a minute. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the chat. Today, we'll be talking about autumn prep and spring plans. So if you could just say hello in the chat so I can see that you are actually seeing what we see. So I can't see anyone saying hello. Can you all see me? While we're here, we'll say hello, Jean. Hello, Sharon. I think I've said hello to everyone. Right, I'm just having a look now to see if anyone... Yes, okay, you can see me. So I'll just pop the other guests in. So tonight we've got Will from the Flying Garden, and we've also got Gem from Gem in the Garden. And later on, Jane will probably pop in. Jane's running a bit late, but she'll be in later on. So let's start off by introducing the guests for tonight. So hi, Will.
Hi, Danny. You right?
Hi, Gemma.
Hello, everyone.
So you two are the first guests for this autumn and winter live chat. So if I am looking over you guys, I am looking at the chat on another screen, so we're not ignoring you. So I'll try and say hello to everyone, and I'm sure if you want to put questions in the chat, then do so, and then we'll try and get around to them as quick as we can. But I think there might be an actual chat box for questions as well. So if you do, I'll try and add them and overlay them as well. So we'll have a go. I'm a bit rusty because we haven't done it for a few months now, but we'll see.
It's about time you got back to doing it.
Oh, I know. How is everyone anyway?
All good. All good.
Gemma, can you hear us?
Yes, so all good. Not loving the weather. It's absolutely pitch black raining. So I'm excited to obviously be filling my evening with talking to all of you.
Oh, so I'm trying to say hello to everyone in the chat, but as you know, that chat does spin around, and also if we don't catch you, then we can see it, and also I can see a few in there, like hi Freddie, hi Dee, Alan. There's honestly, this as always is going crazy. Hi Emma from from Garden of Emma now, isn't it? So hello everyone. So we'll start off with just basically, if you both want to just explain your channels and how you grow and what you do. So we'll start off with Will.
Hi everyone. Everyone I said hello to you already. So I've got my allotment and my home garden in Hampshire. And I've had my allotment for coming up to 2 years in December. And I do no dig gardening on my allotment. And then, so I'm not very experienced with fruit and veg. So it's not only my second year growing fruit and veg, but I've grown, I've been gardening since I was this high, about 5 years old. So it's always been flowers, shrubs and plants with me, but now I'm getting into the old veggies and the fruits. But that's me really.
That's pretty much how me and Will kind of got chatting. So whenever I got a flower question, I tend to ask him, and then whenever there's something he doesn't know about the allotment side, then we tend to bounce back and forth, and then Gemma asks us in between. Can you, Gem?
I think so. I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm definitely guilty of asking a lot of questions of both of you.
We bounce off each other.
You do all right.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I clicked the
What
wrong
are you doing?
button. Oh, I pressed the wrong thing. I was trying to click the chat back on. Right. So basically, while we start off this chat, we're going to try and go through the what's been going on this year, what's been working, and what isn't working. Basically, I know I've had mold trouble, and I've just accepted now that it is what it is. I can't move them on. I live in a rural area, so they're going to come up that mountain and through the fence anyway. So some of those things, I think we are going to learn that you can't stop, but there must be things in your garden what you've learnt, that you can change now. So is there anything that you've thought this year, I'm definitely not doing that next year?
Me, I thought this year, I'm growing too much of a certain type of crop. I'm thinking, there's only me to eat it. So I'm thinking I need to be more I'm learning from this year what I've grown this year, and I need to be thinking about, do I need to really give that growing space to all that crop? For instance, a whole bed of sweet corn. I don't need a whole bed of sweet corn. So, and for instance, I'm going to probably prioritize next year. I'm going to do more outdoor tomatoes because I'll use more tomatoes. Definitely, can you freeze them and stuff like that? And like brassicas, I've got all your cabbages come together at once. And I'm doing a load of cabbages. I can't eat a load of fresh cabbage, so I'm maybe going to do more cauliflowers that I can blanch and freeze, and just rely on more of my perennial kales and things like that. So I can use that as a cabbage alternative. So that's what I've sort of learned from this year. I'm growing too much of the wrong thing, and I need to be a bit cleverer growing, using the space for next year.
I think that's natural, though, Will, because whenever you start growing going onto the food side of things, of fruit and veg, everyone does that anyway. So that they'll start off and they'll get excited about growing things and trying things and all. I mean, there's things that I grow. I grow chard every year, and purely because I like the color of it. But I don't like chard. But I still keep every year thinking, oh, there's space in that bed, so I'll put some chard in. The chickens enjoy it. But there's just one of those things that I try and get out the habit as well of not growing things just because they look nice. But rainbow chard is really colourful, and when it's a bit green at all times, it is nice to mix it up a little bit. So I think that does happen, but I think we do learn from it, and you'll soon eventually dwindle down and you'll end up doing more of one thing or the other. And like the last year I focused on growing more brassicas because I do like cabbages. So I had 2 whole beds of cabbages this year, and it worked out better for me. So yeah, I think you definitely do that. What about you, Gem? What have you?
Mine's similar to Will, but what I tend to do is if I'm, for example, tomatoes or pumpkins, I'll do about 7,000 varieties of that one thing. And I think that's what I really need to like hone in on, because I get so excited, like, or it could be anything, any type of vegetable. I'll do like every single variety that there possibly could be. Whereas I think if I could just do like maybe 1 or 2 and just perfect those, I'll probably end up getting a better result. But I think I just get overexcited and just want to do every single variety of everything. So that it's similar to Will. I just need to hone in the varieties.
It's nice though, isn't it? When you are like growing new variety, you want to grow different varieties. I know for me, I don't eat a lot of salad tomatoes, but I want to still try salad tomatoes and want to try that variety because I just haven't grown it before, and I like to grow stuff I haven't grown before. So I know what you mean by that. You sort of want to grow all the varieties. You have to sort of pare your seed choices down in the spring, don't you?
I'm a sucker. Every year I say, even on my channel, I say I'm just going to do a lot more canning tomatoes, and I've already said it already for next year, haven't I? But I get so tempted by the stripy ones, the colourful ones, and I'm sure everyone who's watching does the same thing. You sit there and you see that bright one that's got flecks of purple in it, like the Brad's Atomic, and you think, oh yeah, I will do 1 vine of that, and then you end up sowing 6, and you end up trying to find all 6, and then you end up with 100 tomatoes, and I think that's pretty much what literally what happens. It does happen.
Definitely.
The chat is going absolutely crazy.
I know. I'm trying to keep up with it. I'm looking to the side and I'm thinking.
I did warn you. That's what happened. So from plot to plate, no dig off. Thank you so much. They just donated $9.99. That's a random. Was that a random amount? But thank you so much. I'll put that towards some more compost to fill those new raised beds that I've got. But thank you so much. But everyone, this is going. Hi, Nanu. Hi, Tony. Hi, Tony.
Thickens. They've written basically what you're all admitting is none of us have any self-control.
Basically, yeah.
I can't even see. Oh, yeah, I can see that now.
We've literally got no self-control whatsoever.
Yeah.
No.
Because we want to try new things, don't we?
And when you get the worst thing I found as well is when you have these little group chats with other YouTube gardeners and gardeners as well, and your plot holders on your site, they all encourage you. And if you haven't done it, then they're like it's like they try and push on those extra plants, especially courgette plants. Courgette plants are like they're that thing that everyone tries to push on, and tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's when you're going through all your seeds, when you're doing your spring planning, and you're thinking, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that. And then you think, how am I going to plant all these? Where are they going to go? But you still want to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And like this year, I planned on so much for my greenhouse. I didn't actually use my greenhouse, but I knew it was because I focused on the polytunnel so much. But there's so much planned, and we'll talk about that later on because I know all three of us have got plans for next year that are going to be good for our channel and good for our growing spaces as well. But yes, you're forever planning as a gardener as well, in you.
Always.
So.
Always.
And you need to be a planner as well.
Things as well.
Yeah, and me. And I'll talk about that later on as well, because the things that I changed last year for this year to improve the channel and improve the grown space, I'm changing it completely back for a reason I'll explain later on as well. But I just want to make a point as well that Tony from Simplified Gardens in as well. So he'll be a moderator. There's also another moderator as well called Linda, and she's got a channel as well. So I just want to give her a little shout out because you know what I'm like. I do like to help other channels and stuff, and she's also moderating the for the first time as well. So let me try and get that up now. Yeah, Linda's helping out today, bless her. She's let's try and get her channel. So if anyone wants to go over and subscribe to Linda's channel, this is it. She's got a channel called Feel Good Garden, and she's just started. So let's try and get her over the 100 subscriber mark at least tonight, or even a couple more. So if you can, just pop over and just give her a good little subscription, and yeah, just help her out. She's a new gardener, but she's actually on my site. So if you do want to, if you still want to see those views of the mountains, or you want to learn, and you'll see me going over on her channel, no doubt she'll be on mine as well, because I've actually shown her on my channel, and she's got like this new beautiful shed that she just had built. It's absolutely stunning inside.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm so envious of it, honestly. It's absolutely
gorgeous.
Beautiful in there. It's so lovely, honestly. It's double doors, and she's got windows all the way around so she can look at the views as well.
Nice.
It's so nice, isn't it? So nice.
I need one of them.
Yeah. Well, I personally do think that you should now look at a new shed.
It's on the agenda definitely for next year, because my wonky shed is like this. It may not last the winter. You never know. So
we've got a question in. The Grapevine Garden, is it too late to sow onions and garlic bulbs? So if you're going to sow onions, then I would advise you sowing them at Boxing Day onwards. But if you want to plant onion bulbs, sets and garlic bulbs, then no, you can still sow them now for the next month or two. And you're pushing it. The closer you go towards the new year, then you're pushing it. But you can still put them in. And I started mine in the polytunnel so I could speed them on a little bit more. And yeah, there's still plenty of time. They're one of the things that you can still put in now.
I remember, Danny, when I got my allotment 2 years ago, the first thing I put in was garlic, and that was in December, and I had a really, really good crop from it.
Yeah. There's no hard and fast rule, because YouTube gardeners, for instance, they'll always show you and people get mistaken because they see it and they think, oh, they're putting it in, so let's put it in straight away now. And they need to be mindful is that we're in different zones as well. You know, like I know we don't use the zones in the UK, but mine is equivalent to zone 8B in America. And what I plant now might not be the same as in the north. They probably would be sowing a little bit, you know, at different times to me. And they're similar to you two, but it's hit and miss, you know. And also the seasons change. Like I sowed my Swedes exactly the same this year as I did last year. Last year I had amazing crops. This year, because we had that drought, then we had loads of rain, then we had the extra snow and stuff, and it just threw the seasons. And you know that in the UK now, our seasons are they're so chaotic at the moment that you don't know what to do for the best. And that's why I'm using the polytunnel more, because I'm never knowing where we're going to be with the weather outside.
Definitely.
Oh, we've got, where is a good place to buy garlic bulbs from? I'm located in South Wales. I don't mind online or a shop.
Ooh. Well, I saved loads of myself. If I would have known this, Lee, you could have had piles off me as well. Don't listen to them too, because I still haven't sent them there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you might be waiting a while.
Lee, if you live near me, send me an email, and if I've got some, because they're on about elephant garlic, but they're gonna roll their eyes at this, but I did have COVID, and I've been so busy, but they will be sent this week because I got some time off. But Lee, if you live near me, send me an email and I might have some normal garlic that I've got saved and I can send them to you, or you can pop round and you can have a little nosy around the grapevine garden. But yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. Just maybe try the garden centres or something. But I've done mine from saved seed, so
absolutely a lot.
We've got Zone 9B here in Orkney for garlic in cold frames. Quiet Space Arts.
Yeah, so my plot neighbour, they've only ever grown their garlic in cold frames, and that just works for them. I've never had no trouble. I see so many people who struggle with garlic, and I remember the first 3 years I actually wasn't going to grow garlic ever again, and it was a weird sign because I planted bulbs in like 2020, I think, and in the first year, 2019, and they both failed. They both completely failed. I kept doing it wrong, or I was doing something at the wrong times. And then I said, when I go to the grapevine garden from my old plot, I swore I was never going to do garlic ever again because I gave up on it. And then just as I was leaving the plot, literally just as I was closing the gate, I looked over and there was 3 shoots sticking out the ground. And I thought, I cleared the plot, but it was actually garlic that I planted the year before. And for some reason, it stored, and it never grew. But I dug them up and I had a good harvest from them and I saved them and I've carried on. But I found now that planting them at the top of the grapevine garden, because it gets loads of sun and really good drainage, I think a lot of people lose their garlic due to the fact that sometimes it gets really muddy and waterlogged there as well. So be mindful as well that they actually, they want good watering, but they don't want to be sat in water over the winter. So, and yeah, Digwell, I was just about to say, Steve Digwell, he fails on garlic, and it's not him. But he's been rubbish for the last 2 years, and I've seen him that he's had terrible crops, and it's just the way it is. Oh yeah, you'll be fine, Mel. Honestly, that's plenty of time. I've just missed a question somewhere as well.
You got 2 questions for Will as well. Will, have you still got your Kalets, and have you tried them yet? I haven't. I wasn't happy with them. I've had them before from shop, but my own don't taste as good.
Yeah, still got my Kalets. I've tasted them, and to be honest, stop pulling a face, Danny. To be honest, they just taste like the normal kale to me. It tastes a little bit Brussels sprouty, but nothing outstanding. But they're still just nice just to carry on, and you can keep just picking those little florets off the side and things like that, just going throughout the winter, and then they'll just finish come before the spring starts. And the other question was about, do I intend to keep the purple sprouting broccoli in the polytunnel until harvesting, or are you moving it outside next spring as it takes so long to harvest? That's from Claire at The Veg Plot Thickens. So my plan was, it's a little bit of an experiment this, but my plan was to put it into the polytunnel, the purple sprouting broccoli, over the winter to give me ideally an earlier crop than you would normally crop it outside. So it was a bit of an experiment. So we'll wait and see. So my intention is to keep it in there till it crops and then pull it out ready for the year ahead with tomatoes and peppers that will be going back in there for summer. But that was the idea, to get an earlier crop of the purple sprouting broccoli. So we'll see if it happens. The plants are looking quite good at the moment. They're doing really well now that slugs have left them alone.
Was it an early cropping variety, Will, or do you know?
It was just I don't know, to be honest. I think it was just a standard purple sprouting. I
think that approach that you've done as well. I remember watching that on Hugh Richards' channel, and he'd watch. I think, now don't quote me. I knew she was somewhere like Canada or somewhere where the weather was horrific in the winter and everything was like 6 foot snow. So she actually used to dig up mounds of her soil with plants in, dig a hole the same size in their polytunnel, put it in there, and it would just tick over. And then she used to dig them back up and put them back outside when the weather was convenient. And there's things like brassicas and chards and things like that. It didn't seem to affect them. But I'm trying it as well. I'm growing things in the polytunnel this year, and I know you are as well, Gem. I think you're just again excited because she's got like a really big fancy polytunnel now.
I'm really excited about my polytunnel. I've got one whole side of it now planted up, loads of garlic, because I'm garlic obsessed this year. So I'm just waiting for some elephant garlic actually, and then I'll be ready. I'm joking. So no, I'm garlic obsessed. I've got garlic everywhere. Garlic outside, I've got garlic inside, I've got garlic everywhere. So I'm obsessed with garlic this year.
Put any way you can find a space, put some garlic.
Garlic, exactly.
I do that anyway, and like I've mentioned on my channel, I just pull it up then if I don't need it for green garlic, and they're actually really nice as spring onions, but they just got that garlic taste. So Jim has asked, hi all, silly question. Not a silly question, Jim, probably, but do I need to cover my winter onions for frost? You can if you want. I don't, because they tend to knock over. As long as there's not a lot of snow on them, then I tend to be mindful of that. But for wind and things like that, not really. I keep my nets on mine anyway, because obviously later on the season I forget, and then I always net all my, I don't know about YouTube, but I net all my stuff over winter, because people think, oh, because the pigeons won't touch it and things like that. I've personally found, because most of my beds are no dig, by keeping those fine meshes over, it stops all the weed seeds that are blowing around my plots in the winter, because it's like a blender for everyone who's left their plots just go to seed. They're blowing around all over autumn and winter, and they just go on my plot and grow. So I just find the nets tend to push them off a bit. So I personally just keep a net over mine, but I don't know what you both do.
Yeah, I keep the net. I put the net on mainly. It's for the allium leaf mine, and that's the reason I net all my alliums anyway. But it does afford that protection from even harsh winds and things like that. And as you say, weed seeds blowing in and things like that. So it gives that little bit of protection, even from a frost. Some fine mesh will give you protection for a frost. But as you say,
and also the winds as well.
Onions don't need the protection. Yeah.
I mean, like overwintering onions, you do lose some anyway. You know, they are put under stress, and they are, you know, and the problem that we get is that we expect it all to manage, and they don't. So you will get some that'll bolt, especially the red ones. They're prone for it, but we tend to plant them anyway, because you see your plot empty and you think, let's just put something there. So Jim's asked another question to Will. Will's Mr. Popular tonight. Yes, did you get your extra plot?
No. A lot of people keep asking me about this, but I keep forgetting to tell everyone. Council are very strict, and they said no. There's a waiting list, and it's only one plot allowed in the local council area. You're only allowed one plot, and there's still a waiting list for one plot, the first plot. But I am a waiting list for a second plot. So I don't know where I am.
I've told him he should have a trilby
and a long time.
I've told him he needs to buy a trilby and a little stick-on moustache so he can cover someone else on the other plot. But yeah, that's horrible. Gemma, what's it like on your?
On what?
What's it like on your?
I was going to say there's another question, but go on. What were you going to say?
Are you allowed to keep plots?
Yeah, what's the rule on yours, Gemma?
Some in mine have got like 2 or 3 plots.
Would you be tempted if next door came up?
Next door did come up on mine.
Really?
Yeah, it did, but no. I think it's enough for me at the moment having the one, and I just think I've got quite a big garden, not huge, but it keeps me busy. I've got the allotment as well, and it's enough for me. So maybe in the future, possibly, but at the moment, one is enough. I think one's a good size for like a family.
Me and Will agree. I think that Gemma having 2 plots would put a lot of pressure on me and Will.
That's true. That's so true. That's so true. I just don't want this question to go down, because I just noticed it. It's says question, very shaded veg patch. So in your experience, what's the best veg to try and grow? Can you see that? It's
it's on the screen, Gemma. Can you see the screen?
Oh yeah.
So actually brassicas don't do too bad in the shade anyway, so I wouldn't be stressing about it so much. They do pretty okay in the shade. Cabbages, sprouts, everything really. I wouldn't be stressing about so much. What do you think?
Maybe in the summer you could think about like salad crops quite like a bit of shade, don't they, during the heat of the summer?
Some lettuces do,
lettuces and things.
Yeah, so I wouldn't stress. I would be, using my shady areas. If I only had a shady plot, that's where I'd be putting my brassicas anyway, if I had to.
Get your axe out and chop a few trees down.
So someone else has wrote, the Grapevine Garden, what can I plant in my coal frames and mini polytunnel, please? Well, if you've got a mini polytunnel like me and Gemma's got, they are absolutely fantastic for growing things. I actually lifted mine up the other day, and I found a tomato plant in there that had spread over. It must have been a house, or I can't remember what that other one was called that Malcolm Kingsall used to grow. I can't remember. It used to be quite a potted plant, but it grown, and I didn't even know it was in there because I cleared that bed, but it's grown from seed, and yeah. But sorry, the question. In the coal frames and mini polytunnel, do you mean over winter? Pretty much everything. Like I do all year round lettuces. You can put in there spring onions, garlic. You can go in there if you want to be pulling it a bit earlier as well. But yeah, your coal frames are literally just a mothered garden basically, and that's if you're using them for over winter, that's all they are. They're just keeping that wind off a bit and the cold frost. So yeah, but I tend to, I haven't got a coal frame yet, and I keep saying every time, I would say to Will all the time, I need to get a coal frame. But you wouldn't believe I got 2 plots, and I keep saying I haven't got. I don't know why, but I need to find some. So
there's another question here, actually.
Go on.
Question. Looking at the subject for tonight, has anyone thought of leaf collection for the compost pile? That's from Simon Adams.
Well, if you go and watch Linda's channel, Feel Good Garden, she's actually doing that right now in hers. But so Tony said, put question at the front of it would be easier. I agree. We are struggling because they're going so quick. But if we don't answer your question, we are trying our best. Like this chat goes.
We're trawling through. What do you think about that question from Simon? I think personally, I don't do a lot of leaf collection because there's no trees that near my plot, near my house. So I'm literally any odd little bits and pieces on the plot that everything goes in the compost bays. But I don't generally collect leaves for leaf mold. What about you two?
I do. I'm going to be very controversial. Very controversial. But
right, she's being controversial. Sorry about that, everyone. Go on, Gemma.
No, do you know what it is? I do think it's brilliant, but you collect all these leaves and you get like 17 skip loads, and then when you actually, you know what I mean? Exaggerating, but you get so many, and then it's like literally you get it, and it's like probably like it would just all fit in that glass. Do you know what I mean? I feel like is the juice worth the squeeze? Do you know what I mean?
I get that.
I
don't know. Maybe that's just me. I still do it, but I just feel like.
I think if you've got the time, and the space, do it, because there's nothing better than leaf mold when it's so rich and it's beautiful to use. But I'm like you, Gemma. I'm so strapped for time that me going around collecting so much leaves for them again, I tend to just buy really good compost later on the year, but I know I need to be better at it. So I'm being really honest. Like I don't do it as much as I want. I do, as you know, I do get like well-rotted manure, and I feed my beds that way. And I have in the past, but what tempts me is easier to guess things sometimes. Like I'm easy, like you both know that in the past, I have dragged sacks and sacks, like over 30, 40 sacks of new manure, dragged it at my plot, put it in my bays, filled all my bays up. And then I thought, and it'd be it's always in autumn. So it's in the rain, in the cold. And then I've done it. And then the next year I come in and there's only a little bit left there. And then the farm opposite me, they actually sell by the lorry road £30. So I always think, is that £30? It's easier for me to pay £30 and get more than I could ever make myself. And the amount of time as well, because I'm constantly back and forth driving to get this stuff from the other side of town. I always think that I'm quite lucky that I got the resources that I can just get the manure, and the amount I get can do about 3 or 4 plots. So I'm always quite lucky with that.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
agree.
always amazing how much it rots down to. You get that
Yeah.
such a small amount with leaf mold or with manure or anything.
Well,
remember Malcolm Kingswell used to do exactly the same thing, didn't he?
He-
He used to cart all that manure in, all the manure, and then it'd rot right down to like this
that
much.
much. And
that's
he'd
a lot of work.
he'd be constantly putting more on top of that, more on top.
Yeah.
And he used to have beautiful crops, as you know, but
Yeah.
Malcolm did have the time as well, you know. But you know, I haven't got as much time to be doing that, but it was always impressive to watch that he was doing it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, and I mean, there's nobody hasn't got more compost bays than Tony O'Neill. If you've seen his, both the front of his plots are compost bay. It's like a conveyor belt, and you'd have to go there to see it. How much is it? And they are impressive. I will say that he's got a lot of compost bays. So, yeah. Another question: does allium leaf miner affect garlic? Yes, miner is a real problem here. Yeah, anything in the allium family, onions, leeks, garlic, it just decimates it. And I've never noticed it on my plots, and then I was warned. Oh, don't on my original plot, never had it, and it was only 4 plots down. And then when I moved to the Grapevine, the old men opposite said like, "Oh, you'll get allium leaf miner." I was like, "Oh, I'll try," and I did. That's why another reason why I net them all the time. But yeah, my advice would be to leave those beds if you can and leave them for a bit. Plant something that's non-allium. Plant your garlic or your onions somewhere else and net them from the time you put them in. Don't leave them to get those pests and the allium leaf miner in, because they're a nightmare then.
Yeah. After all your hard work, they destroy.
We've got a question now with a capital. So, question for all: how do we keep slugs away? Never get rid totally, but decrease them. What's the best you've used? Seems a shame to waste beer now. It's the rugby season. Who wants to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll be really honest. I'll be really honest. I don't know the answer to this, because I'm the same. I tend to get them down to a certain, you know, there's a few, but there's never none. I've always got slug damage. I've always got slugs. So I don't know if there is an answer to this.
Yeah. I don't get many slug attacks, and I think I have a process that I do every year. And for me, if I get a slug attack, it's because of me. I've missed one of those steps out in the season, and my steps are always, I use nematodes first. They are costly, but I use 1 packet to both plots, and I water them all in. I always pick it just before rainy season as well, because they like to be watered in well, and you don't want the soil to dry out and kill the nematodes. And then after I did that, I keep the beds always netted. I'll always say that. And on top of that, by putting my fresh bark all the way around, they don't tend to like the bumpiness of it. I've noticed that as well. That's why on the Grapevine garden, there's paths all the way around, even on the sides of the beds. It seems like a waste of space, but one thing that will always affect you is your neighbours. If your neighbour's got loads of weeds or they've got grass paths right next to yours, the slugs love walking. They dance across to your plot, you know. And I found nematodes at the start. I never use slug traps, and I never tend to get that many. And that's me honestly being honest, that I don't get that many slug attacks. But I'll say that now. And next year, plus my hedgehogs are probably helping out as well. But yeah, but I don't tend to get them that much. What about you, Will?
Yeah, to be honest, it's weather dependent, isn't it, for me? I know earlier in the year we had a really dry spring, so there was no issue. I had no issue with slugs whatsoever, and then obviously you get all this wet weather, so I've been clobbered lately with the slugs. But I don't use any sort of.
Oh.
I was looking for that bit to go on, Will.
I don't use any sort of slug traps or any sort of. Anything like that. I just generally keep as the ground, like no decaying matter on the ground, pick all that up, keep it as clear as I possibly can. And I just have to cope with what I've got. But the problem is, as you just said, Danny, you've got all my plot, my whole site is all grass paths around everyone's plot. So, and I've got a lot of unkempt plots near me. So they all come from the grass paths onto my plot, But you're right, because the bark does help, and it helps me because
Yeah.
I've got bark paths as well. So that helps, but I think it's just been so wet lately. That's what I've been really clobbered lately. But usually it's tolerable. It is quite tolerable, but I don't tend to use any slug beer traps or anything like that. I sort of just take the hits generally and then grow extras to see if I can replace anything that does go a bit too far.
And one thing that I did mention on my channel, well, and I don't know if there's any evidence in this yet, but I'm trying it again this year, is that I had one bed that was specifically, Jane's coming in a second. We'll finish this first though. So I had a bed that was, I had a couple of spare coco coir blocks I bought in the sale in winter, and I just soaked them in a wheelbarrow, just scattered it all over the bed, just to fill the bed, to be honest. It was a newish bed. And I put 2 teepees of runner beans in there, and I didn't have one of the seedlings, none of the seedlings had a slug attack on them. And I don't know whether or not it was because it was moist underneath and the sun had left the top of the coco coir all, fine, and they didn't want it stuck on them. But I noticed that I didn't even have no slug trails, nothing. They just didn't want to stand on that coco coir. And I'm going to try it again. I actually contacted a company, and they're supplying some coco coir for me to put on some of my beds, and I'm going to do some that with, some without. And another thing that I've noticed as well is my wavy metal beds. That's why I keep going to them, is because I don't know what it is. I don't think they like doing that little wiggle up but they just seem to stay from them. But Will, keep an eye on that on yours, whether or not you do. We're now going to we're going to bring Jane in now. Hi, Jane.
I'm not ready. Hello.
Hi, Jane.
I'm not ready. I'm faffing around with my settings, but I'll be there. I'm shouting, aren't I? Am I shouting? I'm shouting.
We did see you, but I was just trying to finish what I was saying. Jane?
Okay, is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
I can hear you, Jane, but you've suddenly gone very low.
I've gone very low. Okay. That's just. Can I hear a cat?
That'll be Gemma. Gemma, do you need to go?
It's probably something coming from my house if it's some sort of noise. Yes.
Gemma, do you need to go and sort that a second? No,
Gemma, you say let someone else sort it out.
It stopped.
So hello, Jane.
Don't worry, the kids aren't running around on their own. Vince is in. Don't worry.
All right. So, okay, can you hear me now? Is that okay?
Yes.
Is that? Thank you, Will, for a sensible answer there. I knew I could count on somebody.
Not me. Don't count on me, Jane.
What have I missed? What's been happening?
Oh, Jane, you missed all the interesting stuff. Slugs.
Yeah, love them.
You
More
love them, Jane.
Yeah.
So you've just come in now to a new question, so that's perfect. So the veg plot thickens have said, if you could start your plots again from scratch, what would you do differently? P.S. Loving this live chat. Gemma will be back now anyway, so I know her daughter's not very, very well, so she's going to sort that out. So I'll bring her back in when she comes and sits back down. So we'll start off with Jane because
apologies. I'm
Don't
back.
worry,
Sorry.
Gemma. So we'll start off with you, Jane, since you're coming in now. So thank you so much for coming. I don't think we need to introduce you, Jane. Everyone knows who you are. If you haven't, this is Jane. Thing. If you haven't, this is Jane Kelly from Jane's.
Yeah.
Growing Garden.
Jane's Growing Garden.
Thank you again, Will. Thank you, Will.
God. Welcome, Jane.
Will's getting all the brownie points here. What would I start from scratch? Oh. I know what I'd start. I think the thing is, when you inherit an allotment, you're very much stuck, unless you're stuck with the blueprint of what's already there and you work around it. And unless you've got a big plan from right at the very beginning where you think, okay, I'm going to scrap everything and have a blank sheet, you just build on, don't you, and extend organically. But I would move. If I could take it all down and start again, I would move the shed, because the shed is right at the front of the plot. As you go through the gate, the shed is there. But then we've got the greenhouses. And I say that, it sounds really grand. Half the windows are missing. The door's not on one. I know, but you've got
You're selling your channel, Jane. You're selling your channel.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. it's such a project. But it means that when you sit in the shed, you there's a barrier really to the rest of the allotment. And I would love to, like you've got, Danny. And Will, I saw you on your video the other day. You're just sitting outside your shed, and you're looking over the plot.
Yeah, that's so nice.
It's lovely. I mean, the other side of it is at the very top end of the plot.
Jane's forgot to tell you, mine. She's got a massive shed at the back of her plot that overlooks all of it.
Well, there is that.
It is a death
trap.
But
that is a death trap, and it's storage. That's used for storage. But at the top end, we have got like a patio bit. I hate that word, patio bit, with table and chairs. So more often than not, if we're going to be sitting outside, we'll sit there. But yeah, I'd make sure if you are starting from scratch that your shed. It means a lot. It's not just somewhere to store your tools. If you've got the space to just even have a chair inside, it's nice to be able to look out and see what's going on. So yes, that would be my change.
What about you, Gemma? What would you change if you could?
I think if I could change anything, I'd probably the whole thing.
Really?
If I'm honest, I'm just trying. Yeah, when you're trying to think. I think James. I think when we first got the plot, it was just really overgrown, and like the shed was in one place, but it's like a plastic sort of shed you can like move. And we just moved it to the back, and then we started from the front and just sort of like added some beds, and then got to the next bit and added some more, and then got to the next bit and added. We sort of like hole punched it, and I think we'd sort of already put stuff down, and then probably in hindsight you think we probably should have thought about the overall plot and not just done it bit by bit. I think if I was doing it again, I'd actually think about the overall plot and what I wanted it to be like, and then start doing it. But I didn't. We didn't. We did it literally bit by bit. So I think I'd have the layout completely different. I think I haven't got like a seating area at all. So like Jane just said, I haven't got anywhere where I sit. I don't have enough time to sit down.
Gemma, now is the time to do those changes. Now is the time if you do want it. I know it's the worst time to do it as well because you're cold and wet. But now is literally the time. That's why we've started this live, because this is the time really that we should be preparing for autumn, and people leave it and then they think, oh, well, we'll be okay in spring, and it's always 10 times more jobs to do then later on. But I don't think you'll be over there as much as you would in spring and summer, because that's the exciting time, isn't it? But at the start of autumn, and especially just before, the snow comes, I'm trying to make sure all mine's redesigned, and I'm changing it again. Go on, Jane, we haven't got your spoon today.
I haven't got my spoon. Gemma, could you just put a couple of slabs in front of your polytunnel and have that as a seating area?
Yeah.
Would that be good?
I could actually. That's a really good idea, because that's all you need, isn't it? It's just like somewhere to,
Hello? What happened? Oh, there's Gemma. There's Gemma's little plot.
It's lovely.
It looks different now, though, because she has got a big polytunnel as well. But
it does look different now. It does look different. The polytunnel sort of like to the left of where I'm standing. Yeah, that's my mini one. And then
this is what it was like.
That was it before.
No, that's it now.
That's it now. Yeah.
That's it now.
I like the way that little polytunnel makes you look like a giant.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah. But no, I think it's a good idea, because then you can be working in your poly. And you just think, I'm just going to sit down for a minute.
That is a really good idea, actually. Thank you, Jane. That is a good idea, because that's all you need. You just need somewhere to put a chair and sit. That's all you need, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Linda, who's one of the moderators I showed you earlier on that picture with her shed, she's got like a little patio area at the front as well there.
Yeah,
nice, Jane.
So nice.
That's gorgeous.
She's just started a channel as well, Jane, so I'll send you a link. But she's got a lovely little patio out there, and I must admit, that patio, there's been many a times where my videos would have probably had a lot more better content if that patio wasn't there. It's a death trap. You go down there and you get sucked into having cups of coffee and biscuits and cakes. Honestly, shame on you, Linda. Though. Shame on you.
That is nice. That's so nice.
Yeah. Is Linda on your site?
She's on my site as well, So I tend to we pop over and have a cup of coffee, and she has really posh coffee as well. So yeah, it's a horrible life, honestly.
Oh dear.
I haven't got. Yeah, there she is. There. Oh,
Hello,
bless
Linda,
her.
on there. Yeah. Oh.
So
Lovely.
yeah, what about you, Will? What would you change?
So if I was going back to scratch, someone actually just popped in the questions there. If I did get a new shed, would I take the opportunity to build it somewhere else on the plot? I wouldn't, only because actually the shed that I've got actually is on the ideal spot on my plot. It doesn't sort of, where the sun is positioned, the sun moves around, so it's actually an ideal. So I wouldn't move that. If I was starting from scratch with nothing there, because when I inherited the plot, all it had on it was 6-foot weeds, an apple tree, and a Victoria plum tree. That was it. That was all that was on it, and a load of rubbish. But they were quite mature trees. I didn't really like where the plum tree was. So if I was starting from scratch now, thinking about it, I didn't really want to get rid of the tree, but probably that's limited me to what I can do in front of my shed there. So I pruned it quite hard. But what I would do, start from scratch, I would actually controversially chop that tree down. I could have had a bigger pond because I can only put a small pond there.
God, your
and
viewers would
just
lynch
a
you.
slightly bit more room. Sorry?
Your viewers would lynch you if you chop a tree down.
I know. You
Exactly.
can't chop
Very controversial.
Who chopped
Very
trees
controversial.
down?
I know.
Who
This
chopped
is why I
trees down
didn't do
just
it,
to make
Jane.
space? I know.
Just sit and have a coffee.
Me? Did I?
You're always talking about chopping trees. I don't know if you have chopped any.
I did chop 2 pear trees down, and that was excuse me, that's me trying to make an excuse. No, they really did canker up, and they were on the plot before I took over, and I gave them a chance for 2 years, and I just wasn't getting no fruit off them. Not like
established. That's what they were. Established.
Established. They were there when I think Jesus opened my allotment. Has anyone succeeded?
You're not getting any fruit off it.
Hi, Cheryl. So Cheryl's another plot holder at mine. So you'll see I'm at Cheryl's as well sometimes as well. I'm never at my plot.
No.
Has anyone succeeded with digging a hugelkultur trench and mound? I've done hugelkultur in raised beds, and that was mainly because I wanted to save money, if I'm honest. But I've never done it. God, what's wrong with me tonight? Sorry. Jane, what about you? Have you ever dug a hugelkultur?
Not actually as a trench. I've done it in the bottom of raised beds like you. So I've thrown a load of stuff. But interestingly, our plot neighbour has just been, it's a long story, but she's got a new space. And
Gemma likes long stories. She's another Jane.
Gemma, you poor thing. I'll cut it short. I always say that. In a nutshell, she's a big digger. I was talking to you about no dig before, Danny, and about whether people feel like it's one side of the. By the way, that's Rocky howling.
It's Mike, it is, poor bugger.
It's not back yet, it's staying out there. Anyway, so one of her ideas is she is going to dig a permanent trench for her beans, and she is going to line it with rusted metal. And apparently this is what her dad did. Her dad was a farmer, and the rust off the metal adds something to the soil as it disintegrates, and he swore by it, and so she's going to give that a go. So it's going to be a huge trench, fill it with scrap metal, top it up,
sounds lovely. But
the price of compost, I think.
Funny you say that though. There's an actual plot holder on my site, and he swears by putting bits of rust and things in for the Swedes. He swears that that's how they get that nice colour years ago. But who knows? If I'm missing some of the questions, then I am sorry, as you know, but it's going. But I'm trying to go through them. I'm trying to pick some new people as well, because also Cheryl, if you are doing that on your plot, I will show that on the channel. It'll be interesting to see the results. So, question: first winter using a greenhouse, burning my culture out, collecting condensation every morning. I'm ventilating, but any tips would be appreciated.
Can I ask what a culture is?
Gemma, this is what normal people use. To take condensation. Gemma lives in a very regal area. No. So I'm guessing what she means is that she's got one of those Karcher ones that takes the condensation off the windows.
It's a brand. It's a brand name.
Yeah. But normally it's like a pressure washer, but they also do one. It's like a vacuum to take moisture off the glass. I wouldn't even be worrying about it so much, to be honest, unless it's causing a massive issue.
I just vent it out.
Just make sure you've got a pane of glass missing. Or 3. or no door. Perfect.
So Jane's option is just smash one of the things out.
Fall into the door, knock it off. Perfect. It's my voice changed because Steve has just said I'm very quiet, and that can't be normal.
I did put you down a little bit, Jane. Let me try that now.
Oh,
I was trying to balance the volume.
Jamie, you're going to mute me next. You've got the power to mute.
No, she's fine.
Is that okay?
Question
right,
for all again. How? Sorry, Jim. If this is a question you've repeated again, I haven't seen it. How big are your plots? It's hard to gauge growing spaces. People always come to mine, and they say it's smaller than they thought it'd be.
Okay.
I think we should leave that there.
Don't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
I think,
Oh.
Well.
Yeah. Jane, what about you?
No, I think we should focus on you for a little bit longer, Danny. Actually, just
it's wider. It is wider than people think.
You can't. I just don't.
The grapevine garden is bigger than the fig and olive plot. But this always happens on my lives, honest to God. We will never be professional YouTubers.
I don't
ever.
know what you're thinking.
Honestly.
I apologize to everyone. But yeah, people do think I don't know whether it's the way the camera is or things, but mine are standard size plots, but Tony O'Neill did come to mind. Oh God. Tony O'Neill came to mind and he did say that it looks smaller than it is.
Well,
but he has got but his is 4 times bigger. Oh, God. He's got 4 plots. How can we get out this conversation?
Okay,
just tell them the size of your plot.
I don't know. I don't know what the.
Just I don't know. No, I don't know the size of my plot.
I don't know the size of my plot.
I do.
I think I know.
Will knows the size of his plot.
Go on, how big's your plot, Will?
Apparently 126 square meters. So
Goodness.
it's long. It's like a rectangle, basically. It's longer and sort of shorter that way. But mine's a bit awkward because half of my plot is flat and the other half has got a slight incline, which makes it quite difficult. But yes, 126 square meters is my plot size. That's classed on my site. That's classed as a full plot.
So I found out mine. The grapevine garden is 152 square meters, and the fig and olive plot is 142 square meters. So take that as you want.
Yeah,
I know.
James, yours must be huge.
I'm thinking as you walk up that central path, the beds on either side are about 9 foot each. So that's 9 foot, 18 foot, and say you've got a 3 foot path and then a couple of foot either side of that, so about 25 feet wide. Does that sound right? But I don't know what that is in meters. I'm very old. I don't know what that is in meters.
Your plot does look really huge though, Jane, because you've got all those
little... It is big. And
you do struggle with it, do you, sometimes, because there's always loads of jobs for you to do. And by the time you get to the top, you end up back at the bottom again.
Is it the 4th bridge? Yeah, you do. It's like that.
Yeah. I always think that Jane's, your plot just looks. I keep thinking, wow, it looks like it's huge, like from one end to the other. I would get lost in there.
It is good, but it's difficult to. It can never be all done at the same time. When we had a much smaller plot, that was everything. Every single inch we used. But this one,
I'm a veteran viewer of Jane's, so I remember the first plot, and there was not an ounce of space, was there, Jane?
It was all used, absolutely. To the extent
so if you want to make Jane a little bit of money, right? Because she's trying to fund her new projects. Go back and watch her old videos because they are actually really good. They're better, actually.
Thank you. I think I'm downhill. I peaked too soon.
Question for Gemma and Will. I was wondering why this was a question for Gemma and Will, but I understand why now. If you could, would you consider chickens?
Yes,
I personally
would.
Go on, Gemma.
You sure? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I did speak to Danny about this, didn't I? Like not that long ago. This is really
I told her not to.
Yeah. He said, no, don't do it. So I'm still really interested in it. I would actually have them in my garden though, rather than my allotment. But I'm really up for it still. But Danny's sort of given me, I don't know if you want to explain, Danny, probably why you said it may not be a good idea.
Because I know Gemma personally, I know how much of a tie they are, and you know Jane as well. They can be demanding. They're very easy to look after. There's no doubt about that at all. But they can stop you from doing things, and they're a bit like a dog, you can, but worse than a dog, because with a dog, you can have someone to look after them. It's hard to say to someone, can you go and check on the chickens? And that's quite a daunting job, What, Jane? Who would you get?
It's dead easy.
Go on.
It's dead easy. We've only got 2 left now, but we've got one of those feeders. It's called a grandpa's feeder, and you can put enough in there to last 12 days. Not that I would ever leave the chickens for that amount of time, but it's rat proof. They've got a solar powered door that goes down as it's dusk. So, and with chickens, Danny, as soon as it starts to get a bit dusky, they're starting to get a bit sleepy. It's like this natural thing with them.
Yeah.
They trot up the little wooden stairs, go to bed, and the door slowly comes down and it comes back up the next morning. So that gets past for having to have someone let them out first thing or put them back.
Yeah.
And as long as they've got a really nice run and you've got stuff in there to keep them occupied, like the chicken gym that we copied off you, Danny, that they're fine. They're fine for a couple of days at a time anyway. And if you're on an allotment, there's always going to be someone there who's going to just look after them for you. Yeah. So that's my experience. That's my experience of them. It is a jump.
Yeah, I've got chickens, and I've decided that once mine don't tend to produce eggs anymore. They're just more retirement chickens. Some of them never did ever produce. I just wanted them to have a nice life when they, I didn't want them to go to slaughter as such. But I love seeing the girls and I love spending time with them. And I don't tend to show them on the channel as much now, is because, and this is such a silly thing, but I don't want people to get too attached to them, because I get really attached to them. And Jane, how many times have us grown adults, me and you, been crying on the phone because one of our chickens have died? And you do get really attached to them, and they don't live as long. And that's probably my main reason is because when they go,
don't live very long.
I'm a proper softie, honestly, because I get attached to them, and God, I filmed once before, and it was honestly, God, it was like my first child had died. I was devastated because you just walk over it. I was terrible, Jane, because I really do get attached to some of the chickens because they're quite comical. But I personally, once the girls go, I don't know. And another reason that I said no to Gemma, not saying you couldn't, is the bird flu. Because avian flu comes over and you have to lock them up, and if you do, there is a lot more restrictions on them, and then they're not free range as such. Do you know what I mean? Jane's got a better setup, I will say.
However, I was talking to Ruth the other day, and she was saying that we have not yet had sign for bird flu this year, and usually November time. That's usually when you start getting your first restrictions coming in. And I remember last year, I can't remember where the first ones came in, but it carried on until May. Well, that really is a good 6 months of your year concerned about the birds and having to have them covered up and everything. But we haven't had that this year, so hopefully that's.
I've noticed that it doesn't count. It doesn't. I have not had any notifications yet. I'm normally texting Jane saying, "Jane, it's on its way." So we've got a little comment for Will. So Freddie said that he will come build your shed for you.
Yay! Do it, Freddie.
There you are. That'd be handy.
That'd be good.
Oh God, I don't know whether or not I should try and get down a little bit. Have you ticked? No, I haven't ticked. We've got a list here of things to talk about, right? And we're still on number blooming 1. So let's move on.
We've been here an hour.
Yeah, we'll try and get to some more of the questions, but God, there's so many. Honestly, I'm really sorry that if we miss some of the questions. What are you all doing new for spring? Gemma, what are you doing new for spring on your channel and on your plot?
New for spring. So I've got a new polytunnel. So that's new. So I'm going to be using that a lot more. I've got some things I might be putting in there. I was discussing with Danny earlier. I've got 2 new grapevines, and I was thinking about putting a grapevine in the new polytunnel. So that's one sort of area that's going to be quite new. I'm conscious we've all got to go round, so I'll keep it short. And I've got a new fruit cage, so I'm really excited about that. So it's been given to me by someone my dad knows. They weren't using it anymore. They've given it to us. Half of it's up. We've just got to put the netting on. So we've sort of done it in stages because it has just been non-stop raining here, probably like everyone else. So new fruit cage. So I haven't got any fruit at the plot at all, apart from I've got 2 apple trees, which they've been there for years and years and years. I don't know how long they've been there. They don't produce very well. I'm going to give them the next year because I've given them a prune, see how they're doing. But that's it. I've only really got apples on the plot fruit-wise. So I'm really excited to get some soft fruit. So that's my new sort of project. So new polytunnel, fruit cage. And yeah, just what I'm going to be putting in both of them. So that's my sort of new for next year.
Yeah.
Well, the shed, obviously we've talked about that shed can't last much longer, so no. I think that is definitely on the agenda for the springtime. But the other thing that I've wanted for a long time, which I'm determined to get, is a walk-in brassica cage. That is definitely what I want.
Yeah.
So that is on the horizon for next spring. So I can do a bit of reorganization, move a few beds. But yeah, I just think it'd be such a game changer, because you know what a faff it is trying to get those blooming nets off and get in and get bits and pieces, harvest, get the weeds out and stuff like that. It was just so much easier to just have a walk-in polytunnel, got your kales there, got your Brussels sprouts, you haven't got any nets to cope with, and it'd just be ideal.
I'm pretty much the same. I'm getting a fruit cage as well, Gemma. So I told Gemma. So I'm so excited about this. I kept saying I wanted one for a long time, and I got Will's face. So yeah, I'm getting a lovely fruit cage from First Tunnel. So I'll be excited to build that. I'm moving the grapevine plot. It's literally all been. You'll see it now in the next couple of months. It's going to be ripped to pieces. Some parts are staying, some parts are going. If you come back to my channel after a year, you'd be shocked how different it would be. So this is the one I'm getting, and I'm going to move all the fruit back down to the grapevine garden after I've just moved it all the way back up. Only because I feel that this would really shadow the polytunnel and my shed, because I've got my windows and stuff there. If I put it on the friggin' olive plot, that would really much take up a lot of the space. And I do like my plot to look a certain way. And I feel like if that was in the middle of my plot, I feel like that would really stunt the friggin' olive. So it's going to go down the grapevine garden, and I can't tell you really what else is going to happen, because there's loads going to be smashed up. And yeah, so if anyone wants any wood and things, let me know. But yeah, so I'm having that, and there's a few other things, a few more beds, raised beds, and things are being changed around. What about you, Jane?
Right, I've got a question.
Go on.
What's the difference between a fruit cage and a brassica cage? Because they both walk in. Okay, it might be a difference in the size of netting.
It's just a netting.
Is that it?
So that's why I put that in. So that netting is just
still a cage, isn't it?
You could use them both for it. The only difference is obviously if you put a brassica netting over there, the wind it'll be like a sail when it will push on it a bit more, I suppose. But I'm having it just to stop the birds, I think.
Yeah. Very nice, very posh. I haven't thought about this question, so I haven't given it an answer. I don't know.
That's all right, Jane.
I don't know. What do you think I should do? You've seen my plot, Danny. Come on. You think is you're always moving things around, whereas I like to get something in and think, right, that's that bit done now. I'm happy with that, and then move on to the next thing. But
I think
I'm like you, Jane. I'm the same as you, Jane. I'm like, that's it now.
No,
Do
me and
that
Will
now.
constantly looking at the next thing to move around. I think, Jane, that what would look lovely on your plot is, if you know Jane's plot, there is quadrants. It splits into 4. And I think one of those you could sacrifice and have a nice little patio area in a nice corner summer house.
Oh, shush now. What, to go with the 3 sheds and
Bit like the one you've got.
2 patios?
Or I've always told you to do that shed right at the back, because I think that's it's so quirky. I think you need to show your viewers around it again.
I am waiting for you to come along.
I know.
For me, Danny, because I know you like a project.
I would love to get into that shed, honestly.
You could make the video. You could do it on your channel. I would be absolutely
Thanks, Jane. That's really
Can you
kind.
do mine as well?
No.
Why not? Yeah, I think you should.
I'm trying to finish mine. I'm trying to finish my shed.
Yeah. But you're the amount of raised beds you've got on yours now, Danny. Which one's that? Is that going to be all raised beds? I don't know which allotment it is. Which plot? One of them's got lots. And you're doing those new ones.
So the new ones are going on the fig and olive plot, because that's going to become more of a kitchen garden, because I cook in my shed and things. Seems more logical. Yeah. The idea when I first took over that plot was that plot was going to be the overflow plot. And that's why I put all the fruit up there, and I was good. And that video I watched the other day where I explained what I was going to do with this plot. And actually, once I got onto that plot, I still really love the grapevine garden, but the fig and olive literally has got so much, I can't explain it, so much heart and soul to it. It's a corner plot and it's so quiet there. And people do ask me, like, how can I film there? It's because it's so much easier to film there, because it's so much quieter. Where I filmed on the other side, what it's like, Jane and Gemma and Will. Sometimes you try and film and you want to get your job done, but there's so much interference by other plot neighbours doing jobs and things and all. And I do struggle with that sometimes down that plot. But I'm trying to find better times, but the times that I go over seems to be what everyone else is doing. And so that plot's going to be all raised bed. It's going to stay pretty much the same amount of growing space. I'm just moving things around a little bit more. That works better for me. Yeah. Next question.
Jane, have you got a pond?
Have I got what?
I told her about this.
Well,
that could be a nice project for you, Jane.
I know.
Tell them about your pond, Jane.
Well, there's a few puddles. There's a sunken bath, a brown plastic sunken bath just in front of the shed at the back. On the right.
Like I mentioned, subscribe to Jane's channel. If
anyone wants to sponsor buying a nice pond, I would do that, because we've got this basically sunken bath in our natural area, and if I wanted to be posh about it, I could say we've got a dead hedge, we've got wildlife hotels. We haven't. It's just a bit of a mess, but the wildlife love it. And there's this sunken bath in there, and we see lots of frogs hopping in and out, but it's not exactly a pond that you could sit around and think. But also we've got a black tank just outside the greenhouse at the front, which fills with water if it rains. And actually the frogs love it. We put a plank in it.
They do, to be fair.
They don't seem to mind if you haven't got, if it doesn't look very nice, not fancy Nancy pond pantsy like Danny. It's beautiful, and yours is, Will. It's gorgeous, but the bits of water we've got are doing the job. But yes, and Mike has really bad reaction to mosquito bites, but we might be able to get around this. So any pond manufacturers watching, please, I'll have a project. There we go. That's my project here sorted. Thanks, Will.
Job done.
Welcome.
What have you learnt this year for next year? What have you learnt? I've learnt not to take on too many projects at one time. That's what I've learnt.
What is this? You not taking on any projects? Is this you? What are you normally like? Oh my goodness.
No, that's what I've learned to do next year. I'm going to try and. I seem to think that I always got to be doing. There always got to be something. I've already got a list. As long as my arm will. That's just a corn, one of Will's phrases. But yeah, what about you three?
I sort of answered this earlier, didn't we, when we first came on? I was talking about growing the right crops in the right space and stuff like that. That's what I've learned from this year into next year. I can tell you what has been worked for me this year and what hasn't, and then
go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, do you know I've got those 2 arches down the centre of my plot? I've got my central path and I've got 2 double arches. My intention was always to grow climbing beans up those arches. That was the whole point of them. Yeah, you can sort of see them there. And the beans have never, ever really done very well on there. And so I've taken a leaf out of Jane's book, actually, because I know she's got archways with thornless blackberries on. So I've done exactly the same thing, and I'm using one of those double arches for thornless blackberries. And as you know, on the other archway, I've got another blackberry, but I've also got a grapevine on one side. So I'm changing that completely and just turning it on its head. Right, okay, no beans on the arches. It's going to be fruit. And then, because I know what really does work for me when I do my green beans, which are the beans that I like, I don't like the runner beans, I get loads of my dwarf French beans and I get such great crops for those. I don't really need to rely on the climbing beans so much. So I still will do my dried bean, you know, my Greek gigantes and Belotti and things like that. I will still do all those. But what really works for me is the dwarf French. So I'm going to focus on that rather than the climbers. And then, as I say, the climbers don't ever do that well on those arches. So
it's funny you say that, Will, because I did the same sort of thing on my first original plot, and I bought 4 or 5 of those and I put them in the row with bean kings and trying to staple them all together. And I found the same thing. I think it's the powdered paint, and when they try and twist, the wind keeps knocking them off. But I found that they just don't seem to climb them very well, and I found exactly the same thing. And it was a shame because I ended up giving it away because they seemed to be they just didn't seem to work for runner beans. Yeah. What about you, Gemma? What have you learnt this year? And you're not going to grow as much.
I think again, it's like it's like I said earlier, the varieties of things, I need to hone in that. Like I just do too much.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just do too much in general. Like I feel like I just want to do so much, and I just have. I see something someone else has done, and I think I want to do that, and like that's such a good idea, and then you just get this list that's like as long as your arm, and you never get to the bottom of it. And actually, if you just stick to the things you actually need to do and want to do, and then maybe just pick a few little bits that you'd like to chat, you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes I just go all or nothing, and then nothing gets done. I just spread everything too thin. I just take on too many projects. I think that's the main thing I've learned. Next year, I just need to simplify it, I think.
Yeah.
Simplify gardening.
Simplify gardening.
There you are. So, go on.
No, so I think this time of year, every year, I feel just like that, Gemma. I'm thinking I'm really going to streamline it next year, and then it gets to the spring, and then it all starts again, and you think, oh no, yeah, you do. And I think that's lovely that you still get excited about new things, you know. So yeah, we do try.
So Cheryl said, I love that idea of a thornless blackberry going on the arch. I will be doing that. So Cheryl, if you want to cut in, I can get a cut in off Will, and he can send one if you want one. Then all right, Will.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. That's Jane. That I got that from Jane's channel, actually. That idea for the thornless blackberries, because they look beautiful with the flowers.
She's an inspiration, Jane.
She is an inspiration, and they're not going to catch on your clothing when you're going through the archway and things like that, because there's no thorns and things like that. And I agree, Cheryl, that the sweet peas are a bit of a faff to maintain.
Can I just say something? Can I have a confession about my thornless blackberry? It's coming out this year.
Oh dear.
After all that, because the variety that I've got is so vigorous, and I've put it on one of those cheapest of cheaps metal arches, and the wind got it, and it just went, and everything else that grew round it, well, nothing grew round it, because it's so vigorous. So what I would say, if you're going to put it on an archway, make sure it's a really solid one, like the one you've got, Danny. You've got that.
Yeah, those double reinforced ones.
Yeah, Yeah, that should be fine, but beware that it will takes an awful lot of nutrients. So I've got it at the end of one of my edged beds, and I found that, in fact, I had thyme on either side of the two edged beds, and the thyme on that side below the blackberry completely died off because it just wasn't getting the nutrients. So yeah, but it's such a shame. I wish I'd thought earlier on just how vigorous it was going to get, because if I put a stronger frame in, it would have been fine. But I'd be interested to see how you get on, Will, because it is a lovely idea, and it looks gorgeous, you know.
Yeah.
Did.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at something Steve wrote. Muddy Boots, Nigel has said the best dwarf beans to have grown is the Ferrari, so well worth a try, Will.
Yeah, I grew them this year, actually, Ferrari. So I was pleased with those. And then last year I did Safari.
Ah.
All the R's.
Oh. Okay. I'm going to make notes.
So someone else wrote, the beans on the arches work really well for me and look gorgeous. My thornless blackberry I've trained around an L-shaped post and wide. I think I'm going to try those thornless blackberries as well, because I feel like I need something that's going to be a little bit of a fence from the on the side of the polytunnel. And I thought about this before, because I thought if I put two posts up and some wires, they'd be perfect then, because obviously they wouldn't, if they do trail off, they wouldn't scag the polytunnel. There's always a worry about me, hurting, that tunnel. So, but yeah, I agree as well. I've done these with Tony as well. Yin Yang beans are great too. I've shown them on you before. They're so
beautiful.
Fascinating. Oh, beautiful they are. Black. I did used to have a picture of it on you, but I cleaned myself out with pictures. Yeah, but it is what it is. What else do we need to discuss before we all wrap this up, everyone?
Oh!
Go on. Oh, yeah, Jane, you want to talk about something. Go on, Jane.
I think Will and Gemma will know what this is. If you know what this is in the comments, put it in the comments. Right. Danny thought it was a dusty lemon cucumber.
It's Mike's tea.
If I tell you, it smells. Your face, Will. The smell is.
Is it like pomegranate, like a yellow pomegranate?
Beautiful.
Is it a kumquat?
No. A kumquat is like a small orange. Can you see?
Does anyone know what is it? Someone said a quince. Quince. Everyone's saying quince.
Thank you.
So Tony said quince. Rice pear plot did.
Yeah.
Allotment plot said quince. Cheryl said quince. Everyone knows it apart from us, apparently. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining our knowledgeable live.
But this bit here is like a bloom, but it looks horrendous. But you can just wipe that off, and you can't eat them raw. But what I will be asking for is recipes. The friend of mine who gave me these makes quince jelly.
Steve said potato.
Cheese. But yeah, the fascinating thing. But they smell. If you smell, it's like sweet syrup. It's absolutely beautiful. But aren't they horrendous looking things? I mean, they don't look very promising. But
a bit nasty.
Yeah.
Tony said real gardeners. Tony, we didn't see your garden much this year.
Yeah.
He is coming back next year with loads more, though. He's been busy with his book, so yeah. Put one in an apple pie or so someone said put one in an apple pie or crumble, Jane. It'll give it a good floral taste, Jane.
Floral. That's the word I'm looking for. It is like a really floral scent. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I'll try that. Yeah.
Digwa said that was my second guess, the quince.
Yeah. Quince jam. Yeah. Oh, some lovely things here. Thank you. Sorry, I distracted you from your list. Go on.
No, I think that's it, really, what I've done. It. There was something else I wanted to bring up as well, though. So we'll just get up now. So if you haven't already, thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Will's, Gemma's, and Jane's channels, and of course mine. And if you'd like to, as always, to join the memberships, you can. I know a few of us now got it, and it does really support the channels and just keeps us going with little bits, because the channels really do take a lot of time. And I don't want to go on and all, but being a YouTuber really is a tough gig. Honestly, you wouldn't believe. You think that we live in lavish lifestyles, but we really don't. Look at Jane, poor bugger. She's wore that jumper since 62. If anything, just go and join Jane's membership and her
Buy me a
Patreon.
new jumper.
So I think we'll wrap it up now. We'll say goodbye and thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And we'll be back very soon. So bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.